Chame Munde. Yeah, I don't fucking know. The 8th round of the VTuber Racing 2024 season takes us to our second road course of the season. Our first road course race was an eventful one up in outer space on the Rainbow Road. This time, however, we are taking ourselves to familiar territory here in the world of stock car auto racing. Charlotte Motor Speedway, but not the oval version of the track. That'll come later this season. We are coming back to this track later in the season to run the oval version of this track. However, we are going to be running the Roval version of this track, also known as the road course, as we see on this shot here with the backstretch chicane. There are a lot of turns in this track, and I am not a road course genius in terms of how many turns and what names the turns are. I just know that there's a lot of swinging lefts and a lot of rights, because this is one of my favorite tracks to run in terms of road course. Last time we had a road course race here in the VTuber Racing 2024 season, it was an eventful one. A quite eventful journey, if you will, up on the Rainbow Road, which saw Sprite take home their first win of this season. They could be looking to repeat, and I don't want to say sweep the road courses because we got a couple more left this season. And we'll go over our next handful of races at the end of today's adventure. We have a couple other races left up on the schedule before we get into the nitty-gritty in terms of the championship. We will be going through some more of the championship hopefuls and see where things line up once we get to that point. However, before we get into all of that stuff, we need to get into the actual race itself. 8 races will be completed by the end of today. Still not a third of the way through this event. We are going to start real quick by going over the starting lineup here. The left row, or the outside row as it's commonly called, is a little bit outstretched compared to the inside row. So it is going to be hard for me at first to distinguish everybody's positionings. However, it's not Kobo who's going to start on the pole in the first place spot. That actually goes to the number 52 Illumin, trying to get back up into the title hunt early in the season. Haven't had a really good run here, but he's looking to change that with a pretty good starting spot here today. These drivers, by the way, are setting lap times just under 1 minute and 30 seconds, as I had to look at the lap times here for a second. So this is going to be a short race. There's only 60 laps here at this track, but we'll go through that here momentarily. Let's go through the starting lineup here real quick, though. Like I said, Lumen is going to start out front here in row number 1, and they will be joined alongside Kobo. Back in row number 2 will be number 94 of Noriboshi, who is coming into this race second in points, only by, I believe, 6 points, if I remember correctly. Merryweather is the current points leader, and they are, I believe, 6 points ahead of second place Noriboshi. They are going to be Noriboshi is going to be starting in third place, with fourth place going to DJ Overdrive. Back another row, Iron Mouse will be starting in the 6th place spot, just to the outside, or the left side, to the right actually, now that I think about it, of Lumi. Go back a row, we see the number 6 Kara Lucky starting in the 7th place spot. Starting in 8th place will be Selen. Henya and Risu will round out the starting top 10 at least. Back in the 12th place position will be Callie in the 73, followed by Starlight, starting at 11th. Jason will be starting in the 13th spot next to DM. Back here, we have Malcolm Bell in the 69, a Dover winner, starting alongside the Rainbow Road winner of Sprite. Back another row, we see the number 41 of Tairoki starting at 17th, with Hano Mizuki starting in the 18th spot. D will start in the 19th spot, alongside last race winner, Michigan winner, William. Can he go for a repeat? We haven't had that, let alone a two-time winner this season. But they'll be starting from the 20th starting spot, so that'll be a tough task here on the road course. Watson will start in the 21st spot alongside Fifi in the 53. Number 99, Asimu, will be starting in the 23rd spot. Alongside him will be the number 78 of Filion. Boo will be starting in the number 26 starting spot, but right next to him will be the number 47 of Kyoso. There's our points leader coming into today's race, Merriweather. He's going to be starting deep in the field, 28th spot. 27th goes to David. 30th place goes to Weebu in the starting spots here, but 29th goes to Bao. Gura and Soleil will start deep in the field, 31st and 32nd, respectfully. Nana crawling from deep in the points has to start in the 33rd spot, so not a good start for them. They will start to the right the right of Bimmel in the 9. As we round out the field here, we got Fruit, Melody, and Dreamer, the last three in the starting spots here. Like I said, 60 laps here today. It is going to be an absolute sprint. Unlike the Rainbow Road, where it felt like the race was taking forever, this one I will assume is not going to take as long because, of course, the lap time's just under a minute 30. It depends on if we have cautions, though. We do have a few cautions. We did have a few cautions during the Rainbow Road race. I'm going to go ahead and turn off that as we're getting ready to go racing here. You'll get a good look at how this track runs in case you have not seen it as we run through the infield part of the course. A lot of high-speed turns around here, and then we enter the banked oval side of the track here. We'll take that off here and actually do a little bit of moving around here for a sec. There we go. Like I said, 60 laps around this very, very, very high-speed road course once we get onto the banked oval here. Now, since this is a road course, we don't expect as much close racing as we've seen in the past. Very similarly packed up will we see these cars compared to the Rainbow Road, more than likely. And we got this backstretch chicane right here, which will split out a lot of the cars. We are using a modern version of this track and not the old version. If this was an old version of this track, I believe that backstretch chicane would cause a lot more chaos in terms of the racing. Remember, 60 laps around Charlotte Motor Speedway, the road course of Charlotte Motor Speedway. That's not the only chicane that we will be looking at here today. As the pace car dives into the pits, they will not take the tri-oval the way that they normally would. Instead, Lumen Kobo will take the front stretch chicane to the green flag here at Charlotte. Have it down into turn number 1. Lumen takes an early advantage. Kobo and him will stay a single file, and then they'll stay side by side behind him. Narboshi trying to battle hard with DJ for third, as they are cranking through the gears here. Through this high-speed area of the track, Lumen has about a car length of a gap between him and second of Kobo. Then it's about another car length to eventual third place, whoever that may be, which looks to be Noriboshi, who clears coming out of the road course and onto the banked part of the track. It'll be a very spread out race here, but Lumen takes a nice lead so far. But Kobo, a nice little run off of one. Actually might see a pass for the lead here. Side by side for the race lead going into the backstretch chicane. Lumen with a good entry. Kobo's going to get the advantage, though, coming out. Staying on that inside line where it is going to be quick to get up through the gears here. They're going to stay tightly side by side. Noriboshi's caught them. Top 3, nose to tail. Top 4 right on each other. Actually, everybody in the top 5, top 6 are there. Kobo cannot make the pass. Will bounce off of the turtles. It's going to be Lumen who's going to take a heavy lead now. 3 wide per second. Overdrive and Lumi trying to take Kobo's spot here for second place, but that is allowing Lumen to drive away real quick. A near 1 second gap there. They were tight going into 3 and 4 on the banked oval. And now Lumen's all by himself here. This is the closest battle. Tightest battle, I should say. And Overdrive's going to take that second spot away. Third place, Kobo. Fourth place being battled here between Nori and Lumi. Iron Mouse is in this picture as well. So is Lucky. A little bit through the field here as we see the top 3. Top 3 are really spread apart here compared to the last lap. Through the field here. Not a lot of side-by-side racing here, but there's a tight battle here between Kenya and Callie. Oh my goodness. Little room for error there for those two. And there's the field as we go through the backstretch chicane for the second time. And now coming to the start-finish line, top 3 are tighter now than they were last time by. Lumen with a good drive off the front stretch chicane. Tri-oval chicane. I don't know what you want to call that, but good drive off of there. And he's got himself about a 0.6 of a second gap nearly. Although DJ's definitely trying to close that gap down. Kobo's right there waiting in the wings as well. DJ peeking down to the right of Lumen. Might be looking to maybe take the race lead away. We've seen some tight racing for the lead early on in this event. Lumen struggles to get through the road course part of the track. And that kind of does cost him. So we see a side-by-side on the banking of this track. It'll be DJ who's going to try and take the lead. And he is going to clear and open up the gap for Kobo to make a move for not only second, but maybe for the lead. And Nori driving into here. It's going to be tight going into the backstretch here. Kobo stays with DJ here. It's going to be a lead change unless Lumen could do something drastic, but I don't see that happening on the third lap of a 60-lap event. Kobo clears off of bank turn 4 here. Going into the tri-oval chicane. Tight for second, but it's going to be Kobo leading this lap. It's going to be Kobo leading this lap, and because of that battle for second, it's going to be about a second between first and second. Battle for third, Lumen with Noriboshi side by side, going through the first couple of turns. Lumi's still hanging on behind as well. It's a tight condo between these two side by side for third at the moment. You got Lumi, you got Lucky, you got Iron Mouse, Risu, Callie, and everybody back. Selen, that's the top 10 at the moment. Also, hello, Fluffy. Good to see you in chat. Top 2, right on each other's tail. It's a bit of a gap between those two in second. And regardless, still a pretty entertaining battle. Overdrive trying to take the lead back, and he does with a slingshot. Big slingshot there, and Overdrive takes back the lead. And he has not led a lap just yet. Lumen's going to look for second here. Ooh, he thought about it, but he's going to probably... Ooh. Good run off of Good run out of the chicane there. Maybe nose to tail for second. There's Overdrive all by himself here. He's going to lead the fourth lap without a doubt. Tight battle back here. They're really using all of that front stretch chicane up. Bouncing all over the place. Kobo drives away a little bit. So there's a big gap there. Still no incidents from what I've seen so far. I mean, I've kept it up to the top 10, but we go through the field here just very slightly. Solen being battled by Starlight in the 24. The top three have a big gap here. This is the closest battle that we got up front. That's a battle for fourth between Noriboshi and Lumi. Very tight back here. This is for back here with Iron Mouse, Risu, and Kali. This is, I believe, for the 6th or 7th spot. Drive through the field here. There's last race, not last week's, but last race's winner, William. He's alongside here, back in the middle of the pack, back in 24th. At least 24th last time by. He's got Simu right in front of him. There. Oof, look at big checkup there. That chicane is not something you want to take lightly here. They might be 3 wide back here. Boo, Kyoso, and Merryweather. Who's on the apron trying to make this pass happen? This is back in the 20s here. This is for 27th, 26th. Merryweather is a points leader coming into today's race. And by the way things have been looking here, things don't change drastically within the next couple of laps. It might not be the case. Overdrive is all by himself here, about 2 seconds at the moment, back in last. Gura all the way back in last place. And it's still Bimble and the rest that started back here. I mean, with a road course being a road course, it's not going to be easy to gain spots, especially late in a run, unless a caution comes out. About a 127. Some drivers are hitting 129s for the most part, which is, I'm not shocked whatsoever. You're dealing with a bunch of traffic, you are going to be running about 130s here, 1 minute, 30 seconds. I'm going to turn down the game just slightly. Ooh, that might be a bit too much. I don't think we missed anything. Hopefully I did not. As we pop through the field, and we definitely see that there are some cars struggling to get any sort of positions here. There's Soleil. Soleil, again, a driver that at one point was the points leader, but the last couple of races have not fared well for this 420 machine. And it looks like this week maybe the same here as them and David. Oh, wow. My God, okay. That was definitely cutting the course there a little bit, but I don't know. I think they're going to let him race. If I'm going to be honest, I don't think they care so much about cutting the course as long as it ain't egregious. That might have been bad, but that wasn't too bad by Weebu there. Weebu and David kind of both cut the course a little too much there, but they're also struggling quite a bit, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised here. But yeah, like I was saying, Soleil and David, those two have had some early successes, with David winning Martinsville, and Soleil, while not a winner at this moment, they've been pretty consistent enough to be up front for the points lead. As the field is very much spread apart here throughout the entire 37-car pack here. It is pretty spread out. Top two are kind of closing the gap here. Overdrive and Lumen, the top two at the moment. Third place is a tight battle between Kobo and Nori. We'll be popping back between those two battles. At the moment, it's a 0.3 of a second gap between first and second. The Overdrive hanging on. And then back behind them, side by side for third, it's going to be between Kobo, Nori, Lumi, and Lucky. A four-way battle for one spot there. And they're going to be double filed between those four here, as top two are nose to tail. Not a lot of success here so far in the early goings here for Lumen in the early parts of this season. He's had his struggles. In fact, the last road course race was an early exit for the 52 machine. Getting involved in an incident ended up costing him a lot because he ended up flipping and retired from the race. Ended up finishing in dead last in 37th. Today, he starts on the pole and he's running up front. He's led the first couple laps and he's trying to take the race lead back. What a bad chicane, though, is going to open up the gap just a tad bit more for the 12. As we see back in third, looks like Nori took care of that battle and pulled the gap between them and Kobo. And even Lumi started to fall back a little bit as well. So this is the closest battle on the track, and it's probably one of the only battles on the track at the moment. We dive through the field a little bit more. Starlight has entered the top 10. They didn't start close to the top 10, but they've been battling quite hard to get inside of it. So, good run so far by them. Not a lot of position changes from the last time I looked other than that. The top two are still right on each other's tails. Lumen's getting better at this road course part of the track. It's the banking and the oval version. It's where it gets a little tricky for the 52 machine. Might not be able to get on the gas as early as he would like. It is a very tight turn onto the banked oval. It is very tight. You think you have enough space, but that wall will come at you quicker than you think. In fact, next time by, we'll ride on board with the 52 machine to take it through what it's like to ride in the cockpit at this track. Big gaps here between first, second, and third. Very uncharacteristic-like for this kind of series at the moment. Also, we have gone a while without any sort of it. I think we've gone this entire race without any sort of incident, which is rare to happen. You're right on board with Lumen. You get to hear how much the throttle is being used at this part of the track. And there is a lack of it. And Noriboshi's actually starting to come up into this picture here. So top three are kind of close to each other here. That's what I mean here. Look at that wall. Just, oh my God. DJ did not have a good run on this oval here, and that's brought the 52 back into the picture, side by side for the lead. Going down the backstretch chicane, front row ticket, if you will, for the 94, and Lumen's gonna clear and drive away. And DJ's even gonna lose second to Nori. And now Noriboshi is going to go side by side into turn number 1 for the lead. Lumen's going to have the advantage here the next couple of turns here. There's a right, and then another right turn, and then there's one more coming up here. A trio of right turns, but that'll mean that the 52 is able to clear off the 94 and maintain the race lead for the moment. There's some pretty big gaps between the top three just a couple of laps ago. And now, ever since that little battle between the 52 and the 12, that's brought up most of the top 5. There's top 3 on top of each other. Then it's Kobo and Lumi, the top 5. Lumi with a little bit of side damage, I think. It looked like there was some side damage there. Kind of looks like it on the left side of the car. I can't really tell because we're not really zoomed in here. Cameras aren't really telling the full story here. Tight battle here. Yeah, there's some damage on that 64. Probably got into, I want to say, maybe some contact with somebody. The 3 might have some damage as well on the side. Nothing major, but there's some side damage here. Even the 10 has some side damage. Nothing major. Nothing major, but definitely cosmetic, which is a bit interesting. Nori swings it out wide going into 1 there. That's going to build the gap between top 2. Yeah, interesting to see that 64 had some damage. I obviously did not see where that came from, but if I had to take a wild guess, I assume that some of these cars are, some of these competitors, I should say, they're getting pretty aggressive. And they're rubbing up on each other here, which is not necessarily surprising, to be honest. They might also be getting a little too aggressive going out of the one of these turns here. Watson back there in 19th place. Not a lot of position changes back here, like I said. This is back in the last 3 spots. Guru's caught up to that side. Before the lead, though. Noriboshi again looking to take the race lead away. In the backstretch of Kane. Going to be able to get a little bit of a drive off. Clears to 52 and takes the race lead away. And this is going to help Nori in the points, no matter what the outcome is with Merriweather. Hopefully I didn't jinx Noriboshi here. Hopefully she can have a halfway decent tri-oval chicane here. And, whew, yeah, we'll lead this lap. So that's a bonus point for the 94. Which will definitely help them out in the points. Whether or not that's a good finish or not, it's still going to be good to lead a lap here. Especially if we have a lack of leaders. So far, I can only really count maybe 4. The top 4 have led laps here. And that's about it. Literally, the top 4 have all led a lap, and that's it. Between Nori, Lumen, DJ, and Kobo, only 4 leaders at the moment. Pit stops, once we hit around the halfway mark, that'll be it. Nothing major in terms of pit stops and all that. In fact, you'll probably, as we see Lumen go for the race lead to take it without a problem. I really want to touch up on that here in a second. We got a battle for a second, actually, before I say anything. I think Overdrive will get the run off of the chicane and maybe clear Nori. That'll be tight. Anyways, like I was saying, we might see some drivers pit just before the halfway point because, if I remember correctly, you got about 35 to 40 laps on a tank of gas. Maybe more or less, depending on strategy calls here. Depending on how you run as well. If you are running fuel saving for a little bit. Well, right around the halfway point, everybody should be in the pits and full of fuel and going to the finish. So there's nothing to worry about there in terms of pit stops. It'll be a one and done. Unless there's cautions, that'll probably change things up. But at the moment, we've run 14 laps caution-free. And it doesn't look like, for the moment, I mean, there is some damage. So there might be a sign that there might be an incident brewing. But also on road courses, cautions are going to be a lot less strict. Because of how wide this track is, you're not going to get a caution for a single car spin. Most times than not, unless it's at the very front of the field. If it's near the end, if it's near the back of the field and most of the cars could get by it, then chances are it's just going to be a local yellow, if anything. But a full course yellow is going to be hard to come by at this track, so I say that, but on the Rainbow Road, we did have a handful of cautions. So you never know what to expect here. With how this track is driving, it's not... There's some differences here between our last race on a road course. The lap times here have really not dwindled down at all. The last time I checked, or at least focused on it, was about a 128. Everybody's still driving pretty quickly. In fact, everybody's really driving their fastest laps here on lap 15 of a run here. Which is actually kind of saying that there's not a lot of tire wear going on at this track. So if we see drivers coming down to pit, I don't think we're going to see a lot of tire strategy. Even Fruit has some damage, this time on the right side of the car. So there's some damage. There are some drivers getting a little too frisky near the back of the field, which I guess isn't too surprising. Back for the lead, though, Lumen and Nori again battling through the backstretch chicane. And Lumen's going to not have a good exit there. It's going to lose first, it's going to lose second. His overdrive's going to undercut him there and take away that spot. Well, there's a big gap there between that and Kobo, so Lumen's able to squeeze in for third. 15 laps in the books. Still a handful left, obviously, but we're getting closer to the halfway point. About a quarter of the way through. And there's some drivers that are still trying to set some fast laps. In fact, Lumi set a fast lap, and so did Lucky. Iron Mouse, Callie, Starlight, Risu, pretty much everybody behind the top 5 have all set their fastest laps. There's even a few drivers from the very back of the field setting faster laps as well. Not much faster, but fast enough to at least maybe contend to pass people for the lead, or pass people, but for the lead, I should say. DJ and Nori side by side out of turn 2 on the oval. Turn 2 oval. Overdrive's going to clear Nori, and Nori's going to maybe lose another spot. As Lumen's looking to take away the second spot, and does. The same way that he lost the lead last time by. That does build a bit of a gap between them and the leader. I don't think that's going to really hurt much. That was a tight battle there for third. Nori trying to defensively hang on to third, and is able to do so. And they were nearly jumping over top those blue curves, also known as the turtles. So far, the top 4 have still all led laps. That's it. And the top 4 have been consistent throughout the entirety of this race so far. Whether or not that stays the same, though, as pit stops come lingering into the picture, that's gonna be a different story here. Lucky's up to the 5th place spot behind Kobo. Iron Mouse right behind in 6th place. Lumia in 7th. Callie in 8th. Starlight's up to 9th. I think still in 9th, actually. Risu hangs on in 10th. DM up to 11th. Selen back to 12th. Malcolm being battled by Kason. And in fact, I do believe I am going to have to update Malcolm's car because there has been an update to them. In fact, I don't even know if I can call them Malcolm anymore. And DJ's hanging on to that race lead. In fact, it's going to pull away big time there after a botched tri-oval chicane there by Lumen. Might even lose second because of a result because of that. Haven't really utilized this camera set as much here. There's a wider shot. Might actually be kind of good there. Lumen hangs on for second. Noriboshi hangs on for third. Kobo out of line there, trying to make something happen. If anything, it just does not. First place we go for a slight battle of any sorts would be back here for 5th. Maybe 6th. Lumi underneath Iron Mouse here. All that I'm gathering from what I'm looking at here in the top 10 is that the points are going to shake up a lot more again. I mean, I'm just speculating off of an 18-lap run so far. Not even close to halfway. Well, I should say we are pretty close to halfway. But we still have 1, maybe 2 pit stops. I don't think we're going to see more than 1 pit stop. Did anybody pit so far in the back? Nobody at the moment. I guess I'm not too surprised that I'm not too surprised. You never know. We've seen a... Oh my god, they're going to be 3 wide going into 1 right here. That's tight. That's for 6th. That's Mouse, Lumi, and Callie, the top, those 3 that are trying to take each other 3 wide. That would have been crazy. This is the closest side-by-side battle that we have at the moment. This is for the 10th spot with DM and Risu battling each other. And we got Selene, Bell, and Kason also in the picture as well. Looking for some spots there. First and second, still tightly on each other. Nobody can really pull away from leading. In fact, there's some drivers that are struggling to get back on the gas once they get out of the road course and into the the oval, I should say, part of the track. And mostly it comes from being the leader. I don't know if it's because the draft is a thing. I doubt it, because you're not really going as quickly as you normally would on the oval. It might be still a thing that might help the acceleration, but... Whoops. Also at the same time, when you come out of that backstretch chicane, you do not want to be on top if you're battling side by side. That's why you're seeing a lot of single file action. Because anytime you see somebody side by side, you know it's just going to be an instant satisfactory win for whoever is on the bottom. There's a battle for 8th place at the moment, side by side between Starlight and Callie. Behind them, it's Risu and DM battling side by side. And Callie's going to get the advantage here with the next couple of right turns. Starlight hanging on, though. And they hang on for one final hard right. Looks like it. Callie will clear. Or, sorry. Starlight will clear and improve up to 8th. And we got Selene and DM together. This is for the 10th. Yes, 10th spot. No, 11th. Risu's up to 10th, actually. Selene will go up to the 11th spot because of that. A little bit of a update here for the race lead. It looked like DJ was trying to make a move, but couldn't make it stick. That's brought back both 3rd and 4th place. And the good thing about, well, if you are somebody in the top 4, the good thing about this situation is that there's only been 4 drivers that are going to have an extra bonus point given to them. And those 4, if you are one of those 4 drivers, that's a good feeling, knowing that you're only one of a handful of drivers getting that bonus point. Because it'll mean a lot, especially in the long run for the championship. A reminder for those that do not know the points format, first place gets a total of 43 points. The base amount of points is 43. You win a race, that's 3 bonus points. And then you lead a lap because of that. That's another bonus point. So you get 47 points if you are the race winner, essentially. Second place goes down by 1 point from the 43 points. So second place gets 42 unless they lead a lap, and then it's a bonus point. You lead the most amount of laps, you also get another bonus point too. We've seen some drivers definitely try and lock that up early on in the race so that they could bank on that in case they don't have a great finish. As DJ takes home the race lead for the moment, and Lumen's trying to battle hard to not just lose second, but he may lose out on a top 5 running spot. If he cannot clear off of this tri-oval, that's very tight and does. Wow. Good move by the 52. That shuffled everybody back, and now it's a tight battle between fourth and back as Nori hangs on to third. And continuing on with the points, it's 1 point down, depending on position. You lead a lap, it's a bonus point. You lead the most amount of laps, that's a bonus point. You win the race, that's 3 bonus points. So imagine what a very dominant performance would look like if it was for DJ, Lumen, or Nori. Leading the most amount of laps and winning the race. That would be a jump of a lifetime, especially this early on in the season. Now change up for 4th place. It's Lucky now in the 4th place spot as Kobo falls to 5th. Going to be 22 laps in the books here. Let's quickly... I know I'm going to probably miss a change or two in positions, especially for the lead. But I'm going to quickly run through the field here once we see what happens here across the line. They're nose to tail for 1st and 2nd. Ugh, Lumen with a bad tri-oval exit there. But after 23, almost 23 laps, as we're working lap 23... Gonna be DJ Overdrive in 1st, Lumen in 2nd, Nori Boshi in 3rd, Lucky in 4th, Kobo in 5th, Lumi in 6th, Iron Mouse in 7th, Starline 8th, excuse me, Callie in 9th, Risu rounds out the top 10. Then we go back to see Selen in 11th, DM in 12th, Kason in 13th, Tyroki in 14th, being challenged by Bell in the 15th spot currently, Sprite in 16th, Henya in 17th, Mizuki in 18th, Filian in 19th, and rounding out the top 20 is Simu. Watson in 21st, Fifi in 22nd, Weebu in 23rd, William in 24th, Kyoto 25th, David in 26th, D in 27th, Soleil 28th, Fruit 29th, a battle for 30th between Dreamer and Bao, 32nd to Bimmel, 33rd Fu, being challenged, nope. Merriweather in 34th, I assume. 34th now for Merriweather. The points leader coming into today's race. 35th goes to Nana. 36th goes to Melody. And in last place goes to Gura. And that's where the field is set after 23 laps. And now Lumen takes home both 1st place and a huge lead at the moment. Nori hangs on to 2nd. DJ's going to lose not only the top 2 spots, but he may lose 3rd here between the battle between him and Lucky. However, again, with this part of the track, it's a lot of sweeping rights for the 12s. It's going to be an advantage given to the 12. It might be a disadvantage given to the 6. Kobo looked out of line there. Might have tried to look for something. Can't get it. The top... I want to say most of the top 10, if all the top 10 is going to say single file. Top 2, about a 2.5, maybe more car length of a gap. Actually, about 3.5. Nori had a bad exit off of the road course there. He's closing it, though. I've been trying to make up for it. And does make up for it as they're coming down the backstretch chicane. You definitely want to keep an eye out on those that use the curbs to their advantage, because it is likely it's not going to be an advantage. Because if you don't know what happens when you hit those curbs, you're bouncing in the air and you are risking not just losing speed, but you might be damaging your car doing that. It may look cool, but it might not feel cool if you're the driver to run over those bumps. Now top 3, maybe top 4 are all right on each other's tail here. We haven't seen much success from a lot of these cars in the top 5 this season. Battle for 2nd. Ooh. Overdrive shoving that 94 up the track, trying to take them side by side. Is not going to be able to do anything more than that. Going to make Noriboshi hang on. Like I was saying before, when we look at the entirety of the top 5, not a lot of success. Lumen's been struggling ever since really the beginning of this season. He had a really good start to this season, finishing 3rd at Daytona, but ever since then, it has not been his kind of season, especially on Rainbow Road. As we see DJ and Noriboshi battling, DJ finished 2nd at Michigan by a couple, and I mean this literally a couple hundredths of a second. He finished 2nd last race. He's looking to make that one position better. But he's currently running 2nd and is trying to close the gap between him and 1st, but cannot do so, especially with that kind of tri-oval chicane. Not a good jump there. He might close the gap through this lap, though. Who knows? Noriboshi won Daytona and hasn't really had much success. I say that, but they are running 2nd currently in the points. Actually, if we're looking at it in literally speaking, I think she would be the points leader. I'm not able to tell you off the top of my head. I assume so because she is way above Merriweather in terms of positions. But somebody else might be able to overtake for the points. But either way, 2nd in points coming into today. And just somebody that you do not expect to be up in the points lead. Essentially because there hasn't really been much talk after Daytona. Just quietly hanging on in the top 5, essentially. Another battle for the race lead here. It's going to be DJ who's going to take a advantage going out of the chicane and is going to take home the race lead for lap 26. Quickly through the field once more to see if anything has changed. Looks like Simu's gone up to the 16th spot. Up a couple spots from the last time we looked. Looks like there's actually been a few drivers. Actually, it looks like a few drivers have already been into the pits. I definitely do not see damage on the 10. Is there damage on the 10 somewhere? No. So it looks like, okay. I want to say William pitted. Yes, because Watson's also down in the pits as well. So pit stops are happening right now. Okay, a couple drivers are pitting at the moment. So that's also kind of why we're seeing some drivers from the back gain up a couple spots like Simu. Because Fruit, William, it looks like Lumi, Watson, at the moment, those four have pitted. And Lumi has pretty much some damage everywhere. It is kind of hard to tell what is damage and what is not, because the render is kind of hard to see at times, especially if it's zoomed out. But at the moment, Fruit, William, Watson, and Lumi have all pitted. And that's it at the moment. That's it. And we're 27 laps about to be in the books. We'll keep an eye on the pits for the next couple of laps and see if anything changes there. Top 2, still the 12 and the 52. These two have been dominant so far in today's showing. They started up front, and they've ran up front the entire time. Actually, a good idea to look at this shot right here and see what happens. Good shot going into 1 here. You see the entire field. A little side-by-side action. The mid part of the field here. Is anybody else pitted from here? Looks like the top... not the top, but the 4 that pitted are right on top of each other. These are the pits, and that's it. So the only other driver besides the 4 that I've just mentioned, the pit is D at the moment. So Fruit, William, D, Watson, and Lumi are the only 5 to have pitted at the moment. Or we're expecting to see a lot more flock in before you know it. From here on out, you're more than likely going to be able to make it, I think. Maybe a bit too early of a call for William and them, but it's going to be it's tight to tell. It'll be tight to tell as we watch basically the entire top 5 on each other's tails right now. And Lumen's going to take back the race lead, and Nori's going to take 2nd. DJ's going to fall to 3rd. And he's going to slot in line before Lucky makes a move. Speaking of moves, there might be a move for the lead coming through the tri-oval. Nori looks at it. Tries to get a better launch off the tri-oval chicane and does. Looks to go side by side, going into one. And it's not a good run by the 94, but it's going to have the advantage if they can stay side by side. Lumen's going to hang on for the race lead. And there's a battle for third as Lucky's trying to increase that position of hers from fourth to third. I got Kobo and Iron Mouse right behind following suit, but DJ's actually going to be the one that's going to cut down in front and hang on to third. Battle here between Risu and Starlight. Going to probably be Risu who's going to get the advantage going into the oval. And we'll clear the 24. I don't know if that's a gain. I don't know if that's a position gain for the two, or if that's if that was a successful defense. Before the race lead, it's going to be Nori again, looking on the back stretch. He's going to do just that, and may even make Lumen. Ooh, that's going to be tight. Going to make him lose second. Gotta hang on if you can't. Ooh. Oh, DJ's gonna pit. All right, got a couple extra pitters coming in. Got DJ pitting, Iron Mouse pitting, Kason and Starlight. Gura pitted as well. There's a few others that may have pitted. I think Merryweather. Yeah, Merryweather pitted. A lot of drivers pitting this time. Lots of them from the back pitting. Only a small handful have not pitted. Can't tell what's going on in the pits at the moment because of the camera angles here. You either get this or you get this, which do show Merryweather and D, who already have pitted. So now the real question is, where does everybody file out? Once we get everybody in the pits, who's going to have the advantage? Gru is still in the pits. Last time, oh my god, there's an extended stop for the one here. Oh my god. We already kind of knew that Gura was having herself a bad day. Starting all the way near the back of the field. Didn't realize it was going to be that bad. Now it looks like Nori's going to enter in. Lumen, Lucky, Kobo, Risu, Callie, Selen, DM, Bell, Stimu, Mizuki, David, Henya. They're all pitting at the moment. Yeah, Gura, I don't know what's wrong with Gura. Maybe some mechanical... I would say mechanical problems for the one. Hard to tell at the moment, but either way, she is going to lose a lot here. I'm going to try my best to get a glimpse of what's going on here in the pits. See where everybody files out at. I want to say... I don't know what's going on. We're going to see here. Oh my god. Lumi takes the race lead. Wow. There goes Nori. She'll come out first in this stop. And Overdrive's gonna overtake almost everybody. Almost everybody. DJ will overtake Lumen. But that's not for the race lead, despite what the thing on the top right says. Noriboshi led coming into the pits. But Lumi, Watson, William, and Fruit, the top four, because they pitted. They all pitted already. They have short pitted the rest of the field. Now, this brings both an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage is, well, I mean, how many times have I talked about these four before the halfway point of this race? Lumi started up front, and she's the one that's benefiting it probably the least because she started up front and was up front. But an early pit stop for the 64, that'll put her up to second. I mean, at the moment, yeah, Watson crosses the line and leads this lap. And I mean, look at the top left of the screen where the lap counter is. You'll see the top 10 where they're at. It's a shift and a half here. Watson out front, Lumi in second, William in third, and Fruit in fourth. And it's a massive gap. Not super massive, but an entire stretch of road, I would say, between fourth and fifth place. Now the main thing is, though, we'll keep an eye on it, because the advantage is that you gain a lot. You gain a lot, especially if, of course, you know, if the tire wear is a thing. It's a massive change, like we're seeing right now. The disadvantage might be lap times. We'll keep an eye on it. But we may see these cars that just pitted, but from Noriboshi on back, they're going to probably catch quicker than you think. As Lumi takes what would essentially be the lead at the moment, you know these four are going to play defensively, especially because unless a caution comes out, this is the top four's race to lose. Right now, Lumi in front and William in second. The top four really, I mean, they don't have major damage, but they do have damage. Gura's back out on track, but is at the moment 2 laps down, so that's a very unfortunate race here for the one of Gura. Started deep in the field and it looks like just had something go awry in the pits. Whether that be mechanical problems or not. The end result is 2 laps down in 37th. Look at that gap between the top 4 and back. Good lord. Side by side for the race lead. And if William leads this lap, it'll be the second race in a row for this 10 car that has led a lap. Which would be insane considering where he started and where he was for the majority of this race. But he's struggling right now. He's struggling at the moment. Lumi's going to get the advantage going into turn 1 here. And it's going to be Lumi who's going to survive as the race leader. But it is interesting to know as we keep an eye on both. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. I was looking at the interval between 4th and 5th, and it went from 9 seconds to almost 6. About 3 seconds. It's a very dangerous game that this top 4 is playing right now. They pitted, I would say, about 5, maybe 6 laps early, I want to say. Maybe less, but not much less than that. 124.9, 124s all across the board. Oh my good lord. It's 121s on back. It's about a solid 2.5 at least seconds faster. 2.5 on a bad lap by them back there. They've already kind of caught him. But one thing that we have seen in this racetrack is that, you know, you can catch them, but can you pass them? It'll be interesting to see how this top 4 can defend. That's their main thing. They might have pitted just in time, and they may be able to defend. But essentially, once they start getting past, I don't know if they're going to be able to defend much harder. The gap between 4th and 5th, about 3 seconds. And it may look like they got damaged, but remember, it's cosmetically they got damaged. Nothing major, especially since I haven't seen anything crazy happen between anybody here. If anything, I would just assume that maybe the 10 and the 64 got into it with each other. I don't know. That's what I'm just assuming. But you get an idea of the gaps here. And there is some battling going on. And I don't know if that's what you want to do. They're battling back there. DJ takes away the 5th spot. I don't know if that's what you want to do. And I don't know if this is what you want to do as the leader either. As we see maybe a lead change between Watson and Lumi. I don't know if this is what you want to do as a top 4. Watson clears. If you're the top 4, you want to run as hard as you can, but you also don't want to run as hard as you can. Because you don't want to be caught by Overdrive and Noriboshi or whoever's leading that pack from whoever's 5th on back. Well, especially if you have a horrible exit out of the tri-oval like what William just had. You really don't want to have your shot at a good finish tainted here. It may be a big track, and I mean, we're just past 35 laps in the books, a little under halfway, but there's so much race left. And it looks like the top 2 have formed away from the other 2. So it's a 2-car pack for the lead, 2 cars for 3rd, and then it's DJ all by himself, and then the rest behind. But this top 4, since they short pitted, they got to play more defensively. They can't really run aggressively. I mean, they can if they want, but that's not going to get them a good finishing spot. Ooh, Nori's even struggling too. She's going to lose a lot of spots. I'd look at that real quick, but Lumi and Watson are again battling hard through the backstretch chicane. And ooh, Overdrive has been caught up. But yeah, you see here, Noriboshi is losing out on some positions here. That's a single file pack going into 3 here. This is for what, 5th? Yeah, 5th. Look at that train on the bottom. Wow. That may just be a mixed bag of just a terrible exit. Oh, they're going to be 3 wide here. Starlight sees this as a golden opportunity for something. Golden opportunity for positions. Can't gain a single spot out of that, though. I'd run through the field, but that's a huge pack of cars. I wouldn't be able to accurately give a position. Merriweather, I will say this, though. Merriweather has gained a lot of spots after the pit stop sequence. He was back in the, upper 30s, lower 20s. He's up to about 15th. 15th and 16th place. He's doing pretty well for himself. Stole's about to enter in the top 20, if not is in the top 20. So there's some spots here that have been gained. There have been some spots gained by some of the back markers in this race. Not to say they haven't been back markers all season, but just the back runners of this race. I know William is trying one thing, and that's the same thing that 3 of the others, the other 3 I should say, are trying to do, and that's they know that they might not be able to get a good finish if they run on sequence. So they're off sequence in hopes that they don't get caught. And I mean, I'm genuinely shocked to say this, but look at the gap between 4th and 5th. At one point it was 3 seconds. It's now more than 7. I mean, they have not ran fast laps at all, and I just don't know if it's because they just haven't. I don't know why. I genuinely can't tell you why that is. Top 4 should be getting eaten alive right now, but everybody on back is having it worse than the top 4. I don't know if it's because they're trying to be aggressive right now, thinking that they're gonna wait, make their move late in the race, but that's not a bold call. That's not good at all. Top 4 are all by themselves. And they're racing each other. They're even racing each other. And they're not really losing many seconds on the board. Back here for 5th, where we saw a lot of the cars dominate. They're racing like they're the leaders. They're racing like they're the leaders, and it's the last lap. That's the tightest that this pack of cars, the front of this pack, I should say, has been. I mean, if you... Oh, I think it's Stargin in the wall. I don't see any damage, but it looked like Star hit the wall. Haven't really utilized the replay at all today. I'm going to check just for this one moment. Did she hit the wall, or was it just a bad exit? No, she was just a bad exit for the 24. Okay, just a horrible exit off the chicane, the second chicane. I mean, Lumen takes 5th, but, I mean, it's a 7-second gap between Lumen and the back of this 4-car Tango. And Watson's even kind of driving away for them at the moment. I mean, this has still been a slightly interesting race. Regardless of the strategy calls here and the lack of a ton of passing that we've seen at places like Michigan and Atlanta, this has still produced some wacky racing. Again, the top 4 have not really been up front at all today, with the exception of Lumi, who started up front and ran up front. But the only reason why they're in this position, in these 4 positions to begin with, is because they pitted about a couple laps, maybe, I want to say several, before everybody on 5th on back. And they short pitted, and this is what the biggest advantage of short pitting will get you. A ton of space between you and the pack behind. I mean, if these 4 get a good finish, hats off to their crew. Because that's not a call that's easy to make. You short pit and it goes awry, you're going to probably lose out on more than you think. And right now, this has worked to perfection for this top 4. I mean, again, it just doesn't help that, for whatever reason, whether it's something that I probably missed something. I don't know what. But these top 4, they may be running hard, but for some reason, 5th on back, they just can't catch them. They just can't catch them. Even though they're running quick laps. Risu's coming up through the picture, though. I would say up to 4th or 3rd. If this was the battle for the lead, which is also still a pretty tight battle between Lumen and Noriboshi. That's for 5th. These 4 right now, in this shot, are the top 4. And we have 20 laps to go. I haven't really mentioned how many laps we have left in this race, because it doesn't feel like it's flown by, but we are 40 laps completed out of a 60-lap stint. And we have not had a caution yet. Despite, I mean, a huge, like, train of cars. The aggression has not been as prominent. Now it looks like Lumen and on back, they've started to realize that they got to start going. They got to stop. They got to stop messing around. They got to go. I think the same could be said for both Lumi and Watson. They've drove away slightly between William and Fruit. The one that might get eaten up the worst, if they do get caught up, if they do catch up, I should say, it's going to probably be Fruit. The gap's starting to dwindle down a little bit, but from what I saw earlier, it was 3 seconds, and then they dropped a lot. I don't know if they have... I want to say I don't know if they have enough time. Especially with this pack of cars here. This is for, like, 16th on back. They're just all on top of each other. A lot of these cars have amounted to some success early on in this season. But this is a clear indication to show you that everybody has a chance to make something happen in this series. Regardless of both starting positions and pretty much just in general. Everybody has a fair shot in this series. And again, another... I get wanting to be out front, and I don't know if this is on purpose or not for some of these, but it definitely does not help seeing these top four race each other very cleanly and not so aggressively. And then I look back and I see 5th place. We're all like trying to jump each other. I mean, if I was Nori, Lumen, Overdrive, I would not be very much pleased with the fact that that's 4 spots right in front of you that obviously should be taken up by them because of them being the ones that were dominant in the first half of this race. But that's not to take away from this top 4. They had the strategy called down to a T. And if they make it, and I don't know if they can, I don't know if they'll pit or not. That's another question. There's still 17 to go. It's a long ways away, but if they can make it from here, this is the strategy call of the year for whoever wins this race. I mean, all 4 of these cars were not in dominant positions to begin with, but then they put themselves in dominant positions to end with. And I'm not so sure if these 4 can make it the rest of the way or not. But if they can, like I said, they gotta be giving themselves a pat on the back for making a call so aggressive that it worked. Tight for 3rd there between Lumi and Fruit. I almost thought those 2 were gonna collide and wreck and spin each other out. They're getting close. And that gap between the top 4 and back to Nori in 5th, it's kind of dwindling down. It's somewhat 4 seconds. A little bit less than that. But it's not coming down as quickly as I would assume Nori and them would like. That's good news if you're Watson, William, Lumi, or Fruit. That's bad news if you're Noriboshi and the other 33 cars. Side by side going into the backstretch chicane for the race lead. It is battle between Watson and William. And William has not led a lap in this race officially. That may change. Now it looks like it's going to change. A great exit there on that tri-oval chicane, and Williams now going to get that bonus point for leading a lap. Here's another thing, too. I completely get this call by William. In the sense that he just won Michigan in the last race that we did. Not last week, but 2 weeks ago. We ran Michigan, and William won the race. He won it just by a sliver. But if he hangs on for another 15 and a half laps, he's going to do something that has not been done in this series. And that's win 2 races, and not only that, back-to-back. We've had a couple opportunities for some repeat winners. But it is very rare to not only get a repeat winner in how this field is stacked, but it's even rarer to get them a repeat winner back-to-back. But right now, William is going to fall back to 3rd and maybe 4th. When Nori, DJ, and Risu breathing down this pack's neck. I may have accidentally jinxed William. Noriboshi's right here now. They said it's go time, and with 15 laps to go, it may be a repeat winner, but I don't think it's going to be William. It may be Noriboshi. They're leading this hard-charging pack right now. But like I said earlier, they could catch them, but can they pass them? And the way that I've seen this pack struggle to get each other side by side and clear of each other to still make up time. And the fact that these lap times, I mean, they're not good at the moment for the top four. But all it takes is one bad corner by Noriboshi, one bad corner by DJ. And it could build a sliver of a gap. That was a tight entry. Good lord. It could build a slight gap between the top four still. And not only that, but that could be the difference between a defensive move gone right and a defensive move gone wrong for the top four. Overdrive hangs on to 5th place. Risu to 6th. Side by side for 1st and side by side for 3rd. That is not necessarily something you want to see if you are the top 4. I kind of want to say single file because you do not want to lose any spots. Especially with Overdrive now coming into the picture. And right on Fruit's tail too. Like I said, catching them's one thing, passing them's another. We got some drivers that are still running some pretty decent lap times. 122s for some of them here, but still somewhat faster. Back 5th on back. You can definitely see the gap well maintained between the top 4 to 5th place, especially since Overdrive did not have a good exit of the road course. Being battled by Risu. And I think Risu's going to get that spot. Well, they're struggling. And that's another thing, too. If Risu struggles on the exit, and they're side by side, that's going to open the gap up. That's going to open it up wide open. Especially if they're racing tightly. That's what cost them the first time. And it's going to cost them even more this time. They're right on each other's tails here between 4th and 5th. Oh, wow. That was tight. I don't know if Overdrive hit something or not. Oh, my God. It's frustrating to watch this if you're anybody 5th on back. It's frustrating because the top 4, obviously, they were not the dominant cars in the first half of this race. The reason why they're out front is because they short pitted, and now they're out front because they pitted earlier than everybody else, and they were able to get some track position because of it. Clean track on a road course is a recipe for greatness, especially with fresh tires compared to people who have ran 25, 30 laps in traffic, driving hard. Yeah, that gap is now, ugh. I hate to see the gap between 4th and 5th this time by. It looks like it's at its worst. Top 4 are separated by almost 2 seconds. Oh my good lord. That's a big. Oh, look at the gap between. It is back to 5+ seconds between 4th and 5th. And with 11 laps to go, it's getting less and less likely that 5th on back's going to catch this pack. Their only hope is that this top 4 have to pit again with like a handful of laps to go. And that this top 4 did not make the right strategy call. In fact, made the literal opposite of a good strategy call. Fruit's fallen way off. It's now a 3-car tango. And the reason why Fruit's not falling back is because everybody back here is just not wanting to gain anything. With 11 laps to go. There's 3, maybe 4 cars that have it. I'd say 3 at the moment that have a chance to win it. And it's not the top 3 that we were accustomed to in the first half of the race. It has shape-shifted entirely. If I jinxed anybody, I probably jinxed everybody from 5th on back, including Noriboshi. Noriboshi's still up in the top 10, though, but my God. Just an awful display by 5th on back. They were right up on Fruit's nose. Right there to just start taking away the good finishing spots between the top 4. Just right there. One after the other. And then just for whatever reason, they just got way too racy against each other. And now the gap's opened up to 7 seconds between 1st and 5th. When we cross the line, there's 10 laps to go, so I don't know, and they're still battling side by side. It's Risu who's trying to take 5th, and at this point, I don't want to say they've given up, but they've got to do something. And I'm just saying this because if these 4 do not pit, these 4, I don't want to say robbed in a bad way, because this is the greatest strategy call you can make. If you are one of these 4 and do not pit with 10 laps to go. If the top 4 can make it, like I said, call of the year, probably the season, for any one of these 4 that end up finishing first. I mean, regardless, it's going to be a call of the year for these 4, even if they don't finish well. But the way that things have been looking so far with almost 9 laps to go, if the top 4s stay in the top 4, all 4 are going to equally deserve strategy call of the year. Battle for the lead, and it's going to be between Lumi and Watson. And Lumi's going to take home first place for the moment. Williams going to take second. Might be looking for the lead again. At one point, I thought Fruit was out of the picture, but she's back up and running just fine behind this pack. But Fruit's never been able to lead a lap yet. I don't think she's really trying. I don't know if I hate to say I don't think she's trying. I don't think she can. I don't think she has the car to lead or win this race. She started way deep in the back of the field. I don't think she really has the speed to compete with these with this top 3. Though still trying to take 3rd away from Watson at the moment. Like I said, at this point, it's now or never for 5th on back if they want to maybe make something happen. But like I said, they've struggled with passing all day today. Not just the certain drivers on 5th and back. I'm saying all around. There's just been a lack of passing. And for the race lead, it's William looking to the inside of Lumi for the race lead. The chance of not only getting a second win of the season for the first time, but also back-to-back. It's still up there for William. If he can negotiate 8 laps and 8 clean laps around this track against 3 other desperate competitors, not only will we see our first 2-time winner this season, but also our first repeat back-to-back winner of the season. Though that's yet to be determined. Looks like Risu has caught the tail end of this pack. Risu's caught the tail end. Is looking to make something happen here for 4th. With how split the top 2 are from them, gonna be tight. Good run there out of 2 by William. He may be looking again another side-by-side battle through the chicane. It's getting tighter and tighter. But Williams this time is going to clear off the 64 and takes the lead away. And Lumi had a horrible exit out of the chicane, so not only is Lumi going to maybe lose 2nd, but he's going to make that gap between 1st and 2nd pretty marginal. Oof! Well, maybe not if William continues to have a chicane like that. Lumi looking to the left of William to maybe make another move for the lead. I mean, they're going to get more and more aggressive. Time is ticking downwards. 6 to go here. Almost 6 to go. Time is the enemy here for everybody 5th on back. All William has to do is just be smooth with it. But it's not been easy for the race leader at all today. It's been anything but smooth. That gap between 4th and 5th, it widened again. Battle for the lead. Lumi with a very aggressive entry. Wants to take the race lead back and does so with authority. Gonna make William lose 2nd. Not a big loss by William, though. He still has 6 laps, and so does everybody else in the top 4. At this point, you might as well count out 5th on back. I hate to say that, but I'm also saying that in hopes that maybe it's a reverse jinx. But at the moment, from what I've seen, that gap between 4th and 5th is cursed to stay more than a 2nd. Risu can have 2 great laps in a row to close that gap. But all it takes is 1 bad exit, 1 bad corner, 1 bad chicane, 1 bad anything. And not only can she lose the gap between herself and 4th place and maybe the win, but if at any point I see Lumen, Norimoshi, or Starlight make a move side by side, it might be game over. Fruit's looking for the race lead now. Side by side down the backstretch chicane. Lumi's going to try and be defensive there. But might not be able to hold off that easily. It's going to be Fruit who takes... Surprisingly, I didn't know that. I didn't know that she had some speed left. Maybe, just maybe, and I could have been fooled. I could have been fooled. Fruit may have saved some stuff for later. Not a bad strategy call here. Especially because Fruit just opened the door to a 0.5 of a second lead with 4 laps to go, and with them side by side behind. Oof. Things might get interesting here. Especially with them side by side. Fruit's all by herself. And it's starting to get hairy back there. I should also mention this too. We're at a point where there's not been a singular caution at all this race. And I mean a full course yellow. I mean, there may have been 1 or 2 spins or accidents. In fact, while I got a second, here's the back of the field onto the front. I know I've been focused way too heavily up front, and I do apologize. But that's one more time here in case you missed it. But not a good day for a lot of these cars. I might be able to go through the field here with a handful of laps to go. Coming to 4 laps to go here. Run through the field just real quickly. Top 4, Fruit, Lumi, William, and Watson. Maybe the 4 that are going to contend for the race win. Risu in 5th, Lumen in 6th, Noriboshi in 7th, Starlight in 8th. They all have a chance still to maintain something, maybe a win, but that's going to be hard to tell. Kobo in 9th, DJ and Lucky battling for the 10th spot. David up to 12th, a great end for David here, regardless of, well, unless he spins out, of course, but if he can maintain this pace, he's got a good finish here, back in 12th place. Kason in 13th, Weebu in 14th, good spot there for Weebu, considering where they started. 15th is Sprite, Simu in 16th, Merryweather in 17th, Bell in 18th, Kyoso in 19th. Running out the top 20 is Iron Mouse. Soleil hanging on to 21st, being challenged by Bao in 22nd. Dreamer in 23rd. He started dead last, by the way. Boo in 24th. Adi in 25th. Billion in 26th. 27th is Tyroki. Mizuki in 28th. Bimble in 29th. Henya in 30th. DM in 31st. Selen 32nd. Melody in 33rd. Nana in 34th. Callie in 35th. A god-awful finish for Callie. Beefy in 36th and Gura 37th. Callie was up front, top 10 all day. Well, all day till the pit stop. And then just all of a sudden fell all the way back to 30, to like the back half of the 30s. Good God. Top 4 have done the best that they can for their strategy call. Well, the one that did not do any sort of favors with their pit stop was Callie. 3. Oh! Risu in the fence! Well, maybe not the fence, but the wall. This race has been quiet all day long in terms of actual, like, on-screen incidents, but Risu overdrove entry into 1 and just manhandled the wall. No damage, cosmetically, from what I'm seeing. Maybe a slight paint chip or 2, but nothing major. But, yeah, that's not good for the 2. That is not good for the 2, but still able to hang on and might be challenging for the 4th spot. They're side-by-side behind with Lumen trying to do something desperately to gain any sort of spots. But speaking of gaining spots for the lead, it's Lumi with Fruit onto her right. It's going to be tight through the backstretch chicane. Williams hanging on to 3rd. Watson's hanging on to 4th, and despite scraping the wall, Risu was able to hang on and still maintain the gap. It's a tight battle there. 2 laps to go here at the Roval. They're on top of each other now. Top 5. Ooh, maybe top 2. Fruit had an awful exit crossing the line. Top 2 have split themselves out to a couple car lengths here. Side by side, going through the entry to the road course. It's William and Lumi side by side. Lumi almost hit the exit of the wall right there. That could have been something. William way over the curbs there. Track limits driver. Still side by side for the lead. Watson hanging on to 4th because Lumen's trying to get up to 5th. Desperation time is in need here. This is going to get very, very tight here going into this final set of laps here. William out to about 2 car lengths of a gap there between him and what may be the battle for second between Fruit and Lumi. Well, that's what William wants to see. If he can negotiate the backstretch chicane, which he does somewhat decently well. Much better than what Fruit was able to manage. He's going to have a pretty chunk of a gap here between him and Fruit for the lead. And what is essentially going to be the race win. White flag is out here at the Roval. A big gap between 1st and 2nd. A 2.5, the biggest out of all 59 other laps. They're battling side by side for the 1st place, or 2nd place spot, I should say. A bold strategy call by William here has put him out in front of 3 other cars who's maybe on last legs right now. Lumen on back, some dominant drivers in the back half of this top 10. They are trapped behind 3 cars, desperate to make something happen. Fruit's in 2nd, though, trying to chase down William. out of the road course onto the banked part of the track. But the gap between first and second is well maintained. It's a massive gap between first, second, and third. Through the final time in the backstretch chicane. Sliding out of that chicane. A good run by Fruit. She may have a chance here going into the final tri-oval chicane. Through the final time in the banked oval turn. Can she do something? Tries to send it. Can't do it. For the first time, a back-to-back winner. And for the first time, 2 wins of the season for William. The road courses do not disappoint despite them having more than 4 turns. Hell of a performance by William. A gutsy strategy call, but it pays dividends as he wins for the 2nd time this season. The first repeat winner and the first back-to-back winner. Won it at Michigan 2 weeks ago by only a handful of hundredths of a second. This week, a more decisive finish for this 10 machine. I mean, an absolute amazing performance there by this 10 crew. I don't know if he's... I don't think he's out of gas. I think he's just taken his opportunity to just celebrate what ended up happening. But there we go. 60 laps in the books in what was essentially one of the fastest races of the season so far. And it ends with William back in victory lane. What a race. What a race. We'll go through the final results here momentarily. Gura's going to have the worst out of everybody. We have a driver that won a lot today. Driver that lost a lot, it was Gura. 37th, 2 laps down. Positions were not easy to come in this race. That is why the top 4 did what they had to do. In fact, actually top 5, because Lumen was able to pass Watson for 4th. Now that I just actually saw that. So, could be worse. Could be worse. Now that we have an opportunity to take it back to... Let me do this and do a little bit of that. Whoops. Glad I didn't unmute that. That would have blasted your ears. I can do that. There we go. Get our finishing results here, and we'll update the points and even do an update on the schedule here for the VTuber Racing 2024 season. 4 laps led for William here, but that 4 laps were all important for him to take home the checkered flag and win it for his 2nd win of the season. Fruit comes home in 2nd place, and look at that top 5. Lumi comes home in 3rd with the same strategy call as the other 2 before her. Though she started in 5th place, a pretty minimal gain considering where she started, but considering where she was also at when she pitted, that was pretty good. That was a pretty bold call of her, because I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't notice that she pitted. That means that she was pretty far back. But in any case, you look at William, he started in 20th. Fruit started 35th. That strategy call helped paid dividends for them. Because you look at the rest of this field, and this is one of the only times we will see, as we scroll through some parts of this field here, where positions didn't really change much compared to where they started. In fact, most drivers lost out on spots rather than gained. Lumen comes home in 4th place after starting on the pole, so not a bad day for Lumen whatsoever. Still a good finish. Watson comes home in 5th after surviving the pit stop, the whole pit stop fiasco, really. after starting 21st. Risu actually finishes in 6th after starting in 10th. Starlight finishes in 7th after starting in 11th. Noriboshi falls to 8th. Kobo falls to 9th. And Lucky rounds out the top 10. A lot of those drivers, where they started, were in the top 10. Including DJ Overdrive, who leads the most amount of laps. With 13 laps led for the 12 machine. He still finishes in 11th. David gains a ton of spots here, finishing in 12th place after starting in 27th. Probably, I would say, the biggest mover, considering how everybody else started right where they finished, mostly. One that did was Kason, who started and finishes in 13th. Weebu finishes at 14th after gaining a handful of spots and after starting 30th. Sprite finishes where she started in 15th. Simu gains a few and finishes in 16th. Merryweather tries to gain something out of a terrible starting spot, but still finishes 17th regardless. Bell finishes in 18th, Kyoso in 19th. Mouse, who started in 6th and was up front for the first half of the run, while did not lead a lap, finishes in 20th. Bao in 21st, Soleil in 22nd, Dreamer 23rd after starting last, Fu in 24th, D in 25th, Billion in 26th, Mizuki in 27th, Dairoki in 28th, Artemis in 29th, and Henya in 30th. And the rest of the field will slowly scroll from there. One that lost out on a lot here was Selen, who started in the 8th spot. And last place, Kuro, who ended up finishing last after not really having themselves a good day. And it didn't get any better after being in the pits for a very extended amount of time. The lowest amount of drivers to lead a lap in this race, with only 8 drivers getting a bonus point for leading a lap. DJ Overdrive, of course, gets the bonus point for leading the most amount of laps. But even regardless of the fact that only 8 drivers led a lap, the lead changed 28 times. Almost half the race was spent talking about a new leader out in front. We'll see the results going from bottom to top one final time before we take a gander at the next handful of races that we will be going to. We will not be going to any road courses here anytime soon. In fact, I don't remember when the next one is. I think the next one, I'll look before I say anything when we bring up that schedule. And there we go. That's where our top 8 rather, will be shown on screen. Pretty much everybody inside the top 11 had led a lap. I want to say, yep, top 11 all led a lap. Nobody from 12th on back led anything. DJ could have finished in the top. If DJ finished in the top 10, that would have been one of the only times I would have said that everybody in the top 10 led a lap, with the exception of 2 cars, because Risu and Starlight did not lead a lap. Well, those are the finishing results here from Charlotte. These are now the points coming out of Charlotte and heading into next week's race. Noriboshi takes home the championship lead for the moment, but the gap is not that big. In fact, it kind of flip-flopped from where they entered. Merryweather, 6 points back. Starlight, 10 points back. Top 3 are right on each other's tails here. On top of each other, rather. Then it's a 12-point difference between 3rd and 4th, with Malcolm Bell in 4th place at the moment. DJ and William both gain a couple of spots. 2 for DJ, and that'll put him 5th at the moment. William with 2 wins on the season, the first time that'll be shown. Maybe not the last time, but definitely the first time. And he'll sit 6th going into next week's race. Soleil and Sprite and David, all 3 of them, lost at least 1 spot. But they still have a manageable gap here. In fact, everybody in the top 9 mathematically could still take the points lead away going into next week's race. However, David is pretty much a surefire long shot. Sprite is pretty much the last one that can maybe take the points lead away, depending on certain circumstances. If you're more than 30 points out, you're pretty much a long shot for the championship lead. Especially if you are not in the top 5, because then you have to rely on a lot more factors. Risu gains 2 spots and rounds out the top 10, though 50 points back from the points leader. And then we'll let the points scroll from here. Lumi gains 5 spots, not the most. In fact, Fruit gains 10 spots and actually sits at 18th spot. Now, as we move forward through this season, that becomes more and more rare by the day. Fifi loses 9 spots, I believe would be the biggest loser. Lumen gains 4 spots, so maybe a comeback is mounting for the 52 machine. And I wanted to let y'all know as well that while this championship battle seems tight for now, it's going to expand later in the season. So much so that late in the season, there is a chance for a lot of drivers in the back half of the points to make up some extra bonus points. Around the 20 to 25 race mark, there will be 2 dual races, or 2 heat races rather, both with varying entry criterias, and they will be used as a way for people far back in the points to close the gap on a lot of the drivers near the top half of the points battle in the points championship standings. And they would be given a second wind, if you will, for not a championship run by any means. You would think, with how tight things are now, that tightening them up even more would be a little screwy for them, for the ones up top. But with how this season's going to be, all it takes is one bad race, for especially late in the season, for somebody's season to pretty much be done. We do have a lot of new drivers up front mostly every week, but that's not going to stay the same throughout the entire season. In fact, we're getting into that point of the season, I should say, where a lot of drivers are going to start figuring out what they have and what they can do, and we're going to start seeing more consistent drivers take home the points lead. Right now, when we look at the wins and top 5, top 10 columns, a lot of drivers that have top 10s are in the top 10 in points. Soleil has 4 top 10s with 3 top 5s to show for. Noriboshi, obviously being the most consistent driver at the moment, not only has 1 win from Daytona, but 3 top 5s and 6 top 10s out of 8 races so far. So only 2 races has Noriboshi not finished in the top 10, which is actually pretty good. That's a pretty good ratio between top 10s and not top 10s. 6 out of 8, about a little less than half, or actually a little more than half the events Noriboshi has finished in the top 10. Starlight, who sits 3rd of the points at the moment, has led the most amount of laps, but leading the most amount of laps while still winless at the moment, though still carrying 2 top 5s to show. But I don't think, with how things have been in the first 8 races, I don't think that's going to stay that way for long. We've had 1 repeat winner, but I feel like there's still a few new drivers that still need to make up some wins here. And with that out of the way, this is our next couple of races. All of them speedways, or maybe even super speedways. We go to Talladega next week, which is the super speedway of super speedways. In terms of super speedway races, Talladega is marked as one of the biggest super speedways. After that, it is very much not really likely we're going to have a big track like Dega. So we're going to see the points shake up a lot more after Talladega. Then after that, we go to the Tricky Triangle track at Pocono, a track with only 3 turns, making it a triangular track. Now, the only triangular track we will be going to, we also are going to be heading to a track that nobody has ever heard of before in Verdugo. You will see that after California. After Pocono, though, is a short track in Iowa. Then after that is the Lady in Black, the track too tough to tame in Darlington. And then another high-speed super speedway track in California, a track super similar to Michigan, so that's a comparison between those two. And with that out of the way, I know that it was just under 2 hours of a race. Again, one of the quickest events of this season so far. Let me look through some of the links. Michigan was just slightly shorter than this, albeit because of the cautions, it probably took a little longer because of the replays and stuff like that. Other than that, though, I do expect that we are going to have some halfway decently length races moving forward. As the season progresses, some races are going to be longer, some races not so much. Looking at some of the race lengths that I have listed on here, some races may be long. Some races may overlap the 2-hour mark. Some may overlap the 2.5-hour mark. The one race that I will guarantee will be one of the longest races is going to be the Mach 600 when we actually race the oval at Charlotte, because the normal race here at Charlotte on the oval is normally 4.5 hours. It's one of the longest events of the year, but we're going to trim that down maybe an hour, hour and a half, or I would hope not much. Hopefully I won't have to talk for 4 hours, because my God, that would be a long race, but still it's going to be one of the longest races of the season. As we move towards the end of the season, though, our finale race will actually be the longest race. We will be running a long race at the very end of the season and our finale, but that is way far into the future, not anytime soon. With that out of the way, though, that'll wrap it up here in the booth at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I will return next week for the VTuber Racing 2024 season at Talladega Super Speedway down in Alabama. That'll be a fun race, though. That'll be a fun race. Then after Dega is once again Pocono, Iowa, Darlington, and California. Which hopefully California is not completely flooded and that track is still a thing. Yeah. In terms of streaming, I'll probably be back tomorrow morning. Probably with either Borderlands or Palworld. Probably more than likely, though, it'll be Borderlands. That out of the way, though, that'll do it for me here up in the booth. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care and good night.